Sometimes we can find our greatest strength when we are picking up the pieces of the worst time in our lives. This is what I found myself doing following the murder of George Floyd. Breaking news: business owners witnessed break-ins, fires, and car thefts during Wednesday night riots. Fire and fury. George Floyd protesters burn huge buildings to the ground as Minneapolis erupts in flames and the National Guard is called in. I still struggle to gather the words that feel accurate enough to explain the weight of feeling so much rage married to pain. Burn it down. The streets engulfed in flames, the streets I call home, became the next big story on your screen. Media of Black people dying gets attention, but at what cost? Whose cost? Modern day lynchings. Scroll, click. Our gruesome final moments are replayed. Click, again and again for all to see. The dehumanization of Black people. All different shapes and all different sizes. Plywood sheets became the canvas of the streets as they layered between businesses and buildings. This board went up, while that building burned down. There was no time, and there was no preparation. People used what they had to protect everything they had. Fire attracts attention more than any other cry for help. I was out there night after night. I remember the speedway on Lake Street burning because I lived just a block away. I could see it from my bedroom window. And I remember being terrified. I mean, a gas station burning, right? Like a block away, blow up, right? You know, like that's not something that you just casually sit by and watch. But I did, because I knew help wouldn't come. And I wasn't surprised when it didn't come. I watched the police precinct burn from the parking lot of Arby's. Before that, too, was consumed by flames. And me with my roommates, I remember helping put out fires, helping disrupt fires that reached the lengths of power lines of my neighbors' homes. But don't let them change the narrative. I was also out there the mornings after, neighbors supporting neighbors, and strangers protecting strangers, holding one another up. With grief and heavy fear and just these feelings of knowing, protesters stood strong in the face of evil. The resilience of community is undeniable. Crowdfunding, community-organized supply drives, again, holding one another up, sweeping up the shattered glass the mornings after. But bad news gets views, right? Are we loud enough yet? You didn't like silence. My city burned in a desperate cry for help, not a childish act of attention. My city's history of structural racism got us here and got us where we were the days following May 25th of 2020. George's murder did not happen in a vacuum. June 12th, 2020, on my way home from work, I remember seeing boards coming down from a building that they were on. It was on Lyndale. How? How are they coming down already? What's going to happen to them? I got out, I parked, and I asked. And this encounter was brief, because I stopped listening as soon as I heard the words auctioned off. I asked myself again, how? How could our pain be bought? How could my pain be sold? A few days later, on my work break, I ducked into an office and I created Save the Boards on Instagram. It's pretty straightforward, save the boards, not more than 5 minutes of thought into what that username went into. But within days, I was following up on leads, picking up boards, evening after evening, using my dad's pickup truck. I drive a Volkswagen Jetta, so I'd have to go home, switch out cars. There's no way a board could fit on that little car. And I started picking up whatever pieces I could find. I had no idea what I was doing. I had no idea what the long term would look like. But I knew in that moment there were pieces that I could pick up. Each and every one of you in this room fulfills a piece of a larger puzzle. I want you to think about picking up the pieces to a puzzle that you've never seen before. You have no idea what these pieces feel like, how big, how small, how smooth around the edges, or how jagged. You have no idea if this is one puzzle or a dozen mixed together. I can't really see you guys, but I'm going to ask a question. Is there anybody out there that identifies with liking puzzles? You'd consider that something that's like a hobby? Okay, see some hands. Great. Good for you. Is there anybody that doesn't really identify with wanting to do puzzles in their leisure and fun time? Okay, so you're my people. I identify with that second group. A little secret that's not going to be very little anymore is I hate puzzles. I get defeated really fast. Like these two pieces, they should have fit together and they didn't. Okay, I'm done. Like, throw it off the table. I'm not going to finish it anymore. And I don't like sitting still for long. I really don't like sitting still for long. But something I've learned through this project, and over the course of my life, is it doesn't actually matter how much any of us might love, or in my case, hate puzzles, because life in itself is a dynamic puzzle made up of experiences, decisions, actions, and circumstances, all of which keep every single one of us in this room evolving. Through these transitions, I believe each of you have the power to change the world. And it is my biggest hope that after today, and after hearing all the amazing speakers, you do. If you're wondering, where do I even start? Or I'm just one person. My advice to you is to just start by picking up the pieces. They are all around you. And that's what I did when I started collecting the boards. Save the Boards, the preservation effort, this project, is the definition of grassroots. Again, I can say it a million times, I had no idea what I was doing when I first started collecting boards. I had no idea what I was doing when I made that Instagram and I started making call-outs to my community to help me collect. But here I am. Together, strangers, we used Instagram to create an Excel document that could be updated in live time. And from there, we tracked and we sourced locations of boards, sizes, the pieces, and the different families that they made up. And then the communications with businesses that home them. In the beginning, many boards were stored in my parents' property, their backyard, and their garage. I know my mom and dad are out there somewhere. And Mom, Dad, thank you for taking this on with me, even though I gave you no choice. I also promised the big 20-foot triangle that I normally display boards in that's still in their backyard. I'm going to get that soon. That's the next thing on my to-do list after I get done with this. Currently, the project, myself, and so many amazing community members have been a part of saving and preserving over 800 boards created throughout the Twin Cities since 2020. Right now, several hundred sit in a storage space, Save the Board storage space, where I frequently pull them out for community events with the intention of promoting dialogue, reflection, and raising awareness about state-sanctioned violence. I have been a part of helping raise over $60,000 towards the long-term preservation efforts of these boards through partnerships, grants, and donations. And more importantly, I've had the beautiful opportunity to work with amazing community leaders, organizers, Tina Burnside from the African American Heritage Museum, Rebecca Kaufman, Preserve Minneapolis, preservationists from McAllister, the Minnesota Historical Society, St. Thomas, the Urban Art Mapping Team, or just to name a few many, and Kingfield Neighborhood Association, who I'm in a partnership with right now. Thank you all. There's no way this could have been done without community. I think one of the biggest things, I know one of the biggest things I want you guys to take away from my short time with you here today is, I stand up here with no idea what I'm still doing. This project every day is changing. I'm changing. I'm evolving through those transitions that I mentioned earlier. I make mistakes, some of which have costed hours of labor for strangers at my discretion, which can be kind of awkward. But a few things I do know and that I've learned to know are these boards belong in my community, not the white walls of a museum. Black murder mothers their existence, and this art stands for my city's resistance. Constant slivers and moving around plywood sheets larger than me in size are a few things I didn't anticipate becoming a frequent occurrence in my schedule when I graduated college back in 2020. But again, here I am. Before I leave you here today, I want you to think about the pieces that exist in your life and all around you. What are they? What do they look like? Can you notice them? Do you have to go out of your way to notice them? We can't always see the bigger picture, but that shouldn't stop us from picking up the pieces around us, right? So before you leave here today, I want you to think about those pieces in your life. Are you willing to pick them up? Thank you.